Scotland's wealth comes from primarily trading with the rest of the United Kingdom. And that's possibly a good point to bring in what I want to talk about just now, which is Sturgeon and her lost cause. Okay, yesterday in the Scottish Parliament, she announced, let me bring this up so I get her words exact. She announced that, quote, "We will do so only when the COVID crisis is past, but our aim, COVID permitting, is that another referendum will be in the first half of this Parliament before the end of 2023. Now, what's that all about? You know, she's nothing if not wise and careful about these sorts of things, and strategic. Okay, the next British general election is going to be on Thursday, the 2nd of May, 2024. Okay, now what she thinks is if she can create some kind of stunt towards the end of 2023, just a few months before the British general election, which will be coming up in 2024, if she can create some kind of stunt about how we, the people of Scotland, must have another referendum, and if she can manipulate events so that she gets turned down, as she inevitably will, then she can go into the May 2024 election complaining about how the will of the people of Scotland has been denied and how it's so undemocratic. And then a lot of people will also be saying that it was England who were stopping us from getting the referendum. More of that in a minute. So she can create the circumstances where she can have this big stunt that she's complaining about by the end of 2023. She thinks that will set her up nicely to go in for maximum benefit at the British general election in 2024. This is what it's all about, okay? That's why she chose that date. Now, so what are we going to be hearing a lot about? We're already hearing it right now, but one thing we're going to be hearing a lot about is that it is England which is denying the right of Scotland to have a referendum. This is how the Scottish nationalists frame it. Now, Nicola Sturgeon might be clever enough to avoid using the E word, whether England or English, but her supporters and many of her legislators and MSPs, and certainly the media, and certainly most of the SNP supporters on social media will all be talking about England having denied Scotland a referendum, which is, of course, a complete confusion of the facts. Just to give you two examples. We read the National so that you don't have to. And there was, they've got somebody there who goes by the name of George Caravan. Believe it or not, he actually got elected as an MP for a few months, a little while ago, before the previous general election. But he says here that he's saying that in this article entitled "War on Our Sovereignty, Here Are Ways We Could Respond," he talks about the Union as being imposed by the larger nation on the smaller, regardless of the democratic wishes of the latter. So he's talking about England imposing its will on Scotland, which is not the way it's working at all. I'll tell you how it's working in a minute. We also have, just more recently, a Daily Telegraph columnist who is a supporter of the Union, pointing out that Tories must avoid getting into a position where the English are seen to be denying the Scots a democratic vote, since this will become the narrative of the nationalists. He's so true. This is Philip Johnston pointing this out. And he says it's far better to appeal to a promotion of the Union's benefits to the Scots and English alike. Well, that's certainly so. But what is also a fact is that it's not when Boris Johnson or the British government, whoever they may be, says that you can't have a second referendum, It's not England saying you can't have a second referendum. It is the British Parliament saying you can't have a referendum. And the British Parliament consists of the Scots, the English, the Northern Irish, and the Welsh. And we all went to the polls and elected our representatives to that British Parliament. So what the majority of the British Parliament says is speaking for Britain, the assembled nation, in its Parliament. So it's not England telling you you can't have a vote. It's Britain saying, guess what? Britain wants to stay together. Britain does not want to risk its own survival. Britain wants to have a future. And it is for the British Parliament to articulate that. So it's not England telling Scotland we can't have a vote. It's the British Parliament that represents the United Kingdom doing its duty, that it has a perfect legitimate and democratic right to do, and a perfect legitimate and democratic responsibility to do, which is to defend the integrity, the maintenance of the United Kingdom. It's nothing to do with England versus Scotland. This is about the British Parliament holding the UK together, which is its perfect duty and right and responsibility. And we wrote an article about that called It's Moral and Responsible to Hold the United Kingdom Together, and we'll put that link up there. And so that's the thing. Whenever you hear it said that the Union is somehow held together by the bigger partner or the bigger nation, that's not the case at all. The Union is held together by the Union Parliament, which itself is the result of everybody throughout the UK who votes representatives to go to the Union Parliament.